You guys know that The Flash on CW has ended its 9-year run, and the Flash movie starring Batman featuring Batman and special guest star Batman is finally sliding into theaters. There's never been a better time to look back at speed powers in television and movies over the years. Of course, you have the Flash, 2 Quicksilvers, Sonic Dash, a train, Macari, and so much more that we'll get into today in this video. Let's take a closer look at how each character was shown to have super speed. And with all this in mind, I hope you can enjoy the new Flash movie with a greater appreciation of the speed effects. So, on your mark, get set, and let's go. Roadrunner and Speedy. It all started with Roadrunner and Speedy Gonzalez. It was easier back then since whatever the artist drew up could be used exactly as is on the final frame. Like Roadrunner leaving behind a smoke cloud of himself, or Speedy running under Sylvester's junk. Decades later, even movies like Justice League would borrow the same ideas with the Flash. An animated Flash and Quicksilver in animation tried smearing their colors, having imprints catch up, or leaving behind a trail of copies. And who could ever forget when Flash traveled all over the world just to punch Lex Luthor? Seems a bit excessive. But now, let's jump into 2004's Dash from The Incredibles. The Incredibles. Specifically this scene, through frantic and fast-paced music to the sound effects of Dash's tiny little footsteps, Pixar was able to bring this crazy chase sequence to life. Okay, this little kid is using his powers for the first time. What kind of stuff is he going to do? He's going to trip. He's going to run through a thing of bugs and fall and cough one up. You know he's going to do things that a kid would do in that extraordinary situation. After drawing the background, putting in a camera move, and adding Dash's run cycle, the team could then start finishing the look. Later on, Dash lands on one of the henchmen's vehicles and learns that his speed makes him impossible to hit. I always love that he closes his eyes right before punching this guy. It shows you that he's still a kid, and while he is fast, he's not invincible. Then as bad guys flank Dash from both sides, he sees he has no ground left to run on. Running on water has always been a thing with speedsters. What better way is there to show just how fast they can really go? But they all end up just doing it with no acknowledgement of how cool it would actually be. But what's the first thing Dash does when he finds out he can do it? He gives the most maniacal laugh. Like a kid finding out he got away with something. The way everything came together and gave Dash such incredible character development makes this my favorite speedster moment in all of cinema. And from one speedster to the next, we get to Sonic. Sonic the Hedgehog, from his humble beginnings as a 2D video game character. Sonic didn't really get to show off his power until his 2020 movie debut. After a misguided first design, the design team went back to basics and followed the original look. And for a film that got its fair share of hate, rightfully so, it did show speed powers in new and interesting ways. The main visual effects company, MPC, scaled back to bring this computer-generated creature into the real world. But making him exist in the environment is only one part of the process. They then had to figure out what his running would look like. From the pre-visualization stage, they tried a few methods like a simple stretched-out shape or a blobby cycle of feet or stringy blue noodles. All of this research paved the way for the eventual look in the movie. And the highlight of the entire film is this part where Sonic super speeds through this bar fight. On set that day, the actors and extras had to pose incredibly still. You've seen the mannequin challenge, right? Same thing. Then all they had to do was add in a CG Sonic, some hot dogs and nachos. I make it sound so easy. But some VFX artists probably couldn't see their kid for a month working on this scene. Looking at this, you can't deny the effects team did a great job at showing speed. And the very next year, we got Kronos from Space Jam 2. Space Jam 2. Oh yeah. You didn't know there was a Space Jam 2? Now I'm just playing, it wasn't that bad. The original movie back in 1996 had Michael Jordan acting on a green screen covered basketball court with hand-drawn characters dropped in post-production. Almost 25 years later. The sequel would use the same method, filming on green screen, but this time mixing it all with computer-generated ones. Giving us a new character, Kronos, a name that comes from ancient Greek mythology. He's meant to be a personification of time, and while he's not technically a speedster, he can control it. He activates a device on his arm, and everything around him slows to a crawl, even Roadrunner himself. Oh wow, I like the watch whining sound effect going on here. A nice touch to a pretty fun character in a pretty fun movie. I swear, it's fun. And like Kronos. Let's turn back time to the first Superman movie. Superman 1978, where teenage Clark Kent outruns a train. The team tried everything, like isolating him and layering him over different footage, filming a normal run and frame cutting to change the speed, even trying artificial motion blurring. But nothing quite worked. So eventually, they just hung the actor up from a moving crane with wires on either side of his body. This allowed them to follow along in a car to get the footage, and this way, they could control his speed exactly how they wanted. And when you compare the final result with footage of professional runners, it actually doesn't work at all. I mean, for 1978, this probably blew everyone's minds. But by today's standards, it just looks a little weird. But huge props to the team for innovating so early on before visual effects were that advanced. Fast forward to 1994, and things started to get a little more interesting. Before Jim Carrey was blackmailed to be in Sonic, he starred in The Mask, whose super speed was shown by a signature tornado effect. Being such an over-the-top and animated actor already, the team didn't have to work too hard turning him into a real-life cartoon character. For this scene, when he first puts on the mask, the crew had to plan out the exact path he would travel so they could know which props to knock over when and which direction to blow these newspapers. Then, the visual effects artists would create these tornado blob shapes, looking at old animation references like the Tasmanian Devil, who makes a fun little cameo on this pillow in the center of the shot. Later on, for the bank robbery sequence, they shot all the action separately to control the timing of all the effects. I like the touch of their hair blowing around, but if you're going to do that, why not blow around all this shattered glass too? Okay, maybe I'm asking for too much. Damn, I love this movie. And on to another favorite of mine before the multiverse concept was overused in every movie and TV show. Jet Li, martial arts master, starred as a universe-hopping villain, killing every other version of himself until he becomes the one, and one of his powers is super speed. Of course, like any movie that came out after The Matrix, we go into bullet time. No, but really, bullet time was everywhere. But the scene that comes next is something that blew my mind when I first saw it and still lives in my head to this day. It's not just me, right? This scene is so badass. The team wanted to use as much wire work as they could get away with. Even trying this method where they film someone getting hit in slow motion on a green screen stage, then compositing another actor matching the hit points. That was interesting, but it really didn't work that well because it was so cumbersome to actually photograph 4 actors. And then having Jet go around and hit these invisible points using CG just allowed for so many more possibilities. A look behind the scenes shows Jet Li punching dangling tennis balls, ending with a green turkey leg that he throws into the air. They have one guy, that said, "No. You missed it. I missed it. The ball only this big." CG cops are placed into the scene, shadows are recreated, and smoke, bullets, and sparks are added in as a layer of visual effects. When I look back at this movie from over 20 years ago, I'm still amazed at how well they pulled this off. And I'm so glad The Rock quit this movie to make The Mummy Returns. We all know how that turned out. And there you have it. A closer look at how speed powers have been shown in television and movies over the years. From the classic Roadrunner and Speedy Gonzales to the dynamic Dash in The Incredibles, and the thrilling Sonic the Hedgehog, we've seen a variety of creative approaches to depicting super speed. Whether it's through hand-drawn animation, visual effects, wire work, or the combination of all these elements, it's clear that each character brings their unique flair to the world of Speedsters. So the next time you watch a superhero movie or TV show, remember to appreciate the incredible work that goes into making these characters truly fast and furious. Alright, folks, let's dive into the world of Spider-Man and see how things look through the eyes of someone with super fast reflexes. And what better place to start than with the very first Spider-Man movie? It's got a great example of what we're talking about here. Now, after lots of rehearsals and perfecting the choreography, we get the behind-the-scenes look at how they shot this scene. And let me tell you, it's fascinating stuff. See, everyone behind Peter was probably shot separately, since none of these students can be found in the wide angles. And look at Flash's arm casting a perfect shadow on Tobey's neck. That's a dead giveaway that they were shot against a green screen at a different time. But it's the simplicity of Peter reaching out his arm super slow while Tobey reacts at normal speed that makes this scene so effective. And would you believe that in the same year as Spider-Man, another movie called Chronicles of Riddick came out with a villain named Lord Marshall? This guy had a really distinct look. As he fought Vin Diesel's character, a ghost-like ribbon effect trailed after his every movement. Fast forward 9 years to the movie 47 Ronin, and the Tengu monks continued this look with their flowing golden robes, like suspended paint strokes in midair. And let's not forget Daphne Millbrook from Heroes in 2008. Remember that scene where Hiro Nakamura stops time and follows a speedster named Daphne? Oh, Justice League totally got the idea from here. Ah, I miss Heroes. They should reboot it. Oh, they did? Now, let's talk about Man of Steel's Fira. She showed us speed in a whole new way. Say what you will about Zack Snyder's version of Superman, but you can't deny the amount of work he put into the film and his strong vision for this sequence. The pre-visualization of the stunts showed us exactly how everything would come together. And just from that, you can see how intense the action would end up being. Fast forward to 2022's Black Adam, and guess what? They did pretty much the same thing. 1-2 punch, just like Man of Steel. Makes sense, since they're both aliens and gods out to kill everyone. Now, on the flip side, we have 2019's Shazam, which made super speed a little more kid-friendly. But towards the end, when everybody got Shazam powers, things got a bit inconsistent. Take Darla, for example. She blows away all this hay as she comes out of super speed. But then she has no effect on anyone around her, and her own hair doesn't even move. And what about that scene where she saves Santa from a demon monster? I mean, seriously, what the hell was that? The background extras barely react. There should have been snow kicking up, Christmas tree blowing, and Santa's pose just pops. I know it's a quick shot, but they could have tried a little harder. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the iconic Quicksilver kitchen scene in Days of Future Past. Oh boy, this was something else. They filmed it with a stereo phantom camera, so everything was in super high speed. Real sprinklers, real soaking wet actors. Then they slow it all down in post-production and add in the visual effects. Evan Peters filmed all the close-ups separately, and boy, that guy got hosed down like a wet dog and even did some running on a treadmill with a gigantic industrial-grade wind cannon blowing at his face. They went all out for this one. But you know what's a shame? They wrote Quicksilver right out of the story when he could have been so useful for the rest of the movie. I mean, when you're that fast, you can literally change the direction of bullets. There's not much conflict left. Now, let's talk about Quicksilver in X-Men: Apocalypse. They cranked everything up to 11 for this one. Quicksilver saves everyone from an explosion that happens in a split second. They started out with concept art and storyboards to plan out the action, then used phantom cameras to capture the blink-of-an-eye moments in super slow motion. This gave the audience plenty of time to take in all the destruction. The visual effects team had their work cut out for them, creating all the CG elements and simulating debris flying everywhere. And let me tell you, the end result is quite a spectacle. Meanwhile, in 2015, Marvel introduced their own version of Quicksilver in Age of Ultron. And they gave him a very different look compared to the X-Men version. But hey, it works. They focused on the visuals of a speed trail, and after filming Aaron Taylor Johnson running on set, they built the trail in layers, even distorting the background to give it that extra oomph. Moving on to 2021's WandaVision, we see yet another interpretation of Quicksilver. This time, they kept the same idea of having the actors go through the motions and then adding in the wispy white and blue trails in post-production. It's amazing how we get such different versions of the same character in the Fox and Marvel universes. It makes superhero movies so much more fun, don't you think? And speaking of fun, Marvel's Eternals in 2021 introduced us to Makari, a brand new speedster. Now, this character had a really interesting power, and to develop her look, the actress practiced running on a huge treadmill suspended on a harness. This gave her a much smoother and controlled look compared to that other guy. And did you notice how the markings on her suit would echo outward before she ran off? Just a nice touch that gives this speedster her own unique flair. During filming at exotic sandy beaches for the final act, the VFX team had the challenge of adding in sand effects being kicked up, alongside Makari's digital double. And boy, did they pull it off. It's always impressive to see how they bring these scenes to life. And now, let's talk about a speedster from a different world entirely, A-Train from The Boys. If you're not watching this show on Amazon Prime, you're missing out. It takes the concept of superheroes and flips it on its head, showing us the dark side of having these incredible powers. A-Train is one of the most dangerous characters, using his speed to maintain his fame and celebrity status. But man, his introduction in the first episode is absolutely gruesome. Running into someone at super speed? Let's just say they don't stand a chance. And there you have it, folks, we've come to the end of our journey through the world of speedsters. From Spider-Man to The Boys. We've seen different interpretations of super speed, each with its own flair and style. These characters bring a whole new level of excitement to superhero movies, don't you think? Right, let's take a little trip back in time, shall we? We're going all the way back to the year 1940 when The Flash made his first appearance. Since then, this speedy hero has graced our screens in various forms. We had a splendid cartoon series in 1967, followed by a marvelous live-action series in 1990. The Flash even made appearances in other shows like Smallville in 2004 and DC Universe Online in 2011. But it was in 2014 that the CW debuted its own Flash series, and boy, did it take the world by storm. Now, let me take you chaps on a little journey through the history of The Flash on telly. The original 1990 TV show had some rather quirky effects. Picture this, a fellow dressed as the Flash running on a treadmill with his legs looking a bit peculiar, like a doorstopper flinging about. Good fun for all. It may have looked a bit goofy, but it definitely gave audiences a jolly good laugh and a thrilling hero to watch. Fast forward to 2004, and we had a young version of the Flash making an appearance in Smallville. Can you imagine that? Watching another speedster running even faster than young Clark Kent himself. Quite interesting, I say. But what really impressed me were the clever editing tricks they used. Take a gander at this scene, Flash saves his dad, and Clark finds out. Flash's body double, sporting the same bathrobe, exits the frame on the left as the real actor appears from behind Clark on the right. Talk about a clever play, right? Oh, and let's not forget the practical and CGI effects in Smallville that laid the groundwork for the Flash series on the CW. Speaking of which, let me tell you about my own little adventure with the Flash on the CW. I almost managed to snag a selfie with Grant Gustin once. Oh, don't be jealous. Just like high school me watched every episode of Smallville, adult me glued myself to the screen for the Flash. Well, at least for the first few seasons. They did get a bit carried away later on, if you ask me. But hey, that's just a minor hiccup in an otherwise amazing journey. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of how the Flash is brought to life on screen. Running at superhuman speed is no easy feat, you know. Grant Gustin, the actor who portrays the Flash, had some serious training with an Olympic track and field sprint coach. Can you believe it? He took his role quite seriously, and it really shows. I may not know what someone running at 700 miles an hour looks like, but when Grant Gustin does it, I can totally buy it. But running is just one part of the equation, my friends. The Flash also has to look dashing coming out of those speedy runs. And let me tell you, the ladies' necks should have snapped like twigs in some of those scenes. To prevent such catastrophes, they used a clever technique called holding to keep the actors' necks safe. Safety first, chaps. Now, let's talk effects, shall we? The environment around the Flash is always in a frenzy when he's zooming about. Hair blowing in the wind, water splashing, smoke wisping away, and even trash flying in the air. It's a whirlwind of excitement. The more intense the reactions, the more believable the shot. It all comes together to create a thrilling experience for us viewers. Now, let's take a stroll through the city. The Flash spends a good amount of time dashing around, and the visual effects company went all out to create an entirely computer-generated city. Every pedestrian, car, and building was meticulously crafted to give full control to the camera and characters. No need to drive around for hours just to get a few seconds of footage, my friends. Technology has truly blessed us. But you know, it's not all peaches and cream. Sometimes they had to rely on digital doubles to bring the Flash to life in impossible situations. It was a whole process, my friends. The Flash had to be rebuilt from the ground up with meticulous modeling, texturing, and lighting. This gave the clever chaps full control over what he could do on screen. However, sometimes these digital doubles gave themselves away with their locked torsos. Oh well, a minor hiccup in an otherwise incredible achievement. These digital doubles allowed the Flash to save a scientist through a collapsing building, thwart Captain Cold's truck robbery, and even fight Reverse Flash in the very first episode. It's all CGI magic, my friends. They scanned the set, texture mapped it, and generated lightning to make the scenes come alive. Without the lightning, the show just wouldn't be the same, I tell you. Over the years, The Flash has treated us to compelling storylines with complex characters. It's truly been a remarkable journey. And we owe it to the hard work of the actors, the crew, and the thousands of talented artists who brought this impossible tale to life. Farewell, CW's Flash. You shall be missed. But fear not, my friends. After numerous delays, the Flash movie has finally made its grand debut. And let me tell you, it's a sight to behold. The Flash's unique look is brought to life with tiny electrical crackles crawling throughout his suit, plasma-looking lightning, sparks, smoke, and all sorts of visual delights. It's an absolute feast for the eyes. And let's not forget the splendid use of lighting on set. Tons of lights going off in all directions, lightning reflecting in the Flash's helmet, and even in his eyeballs. It's a visual treat, I tell you. Just have a look at how powerful the moment becomes when he's lit by his own lightning. Now, let's dive into the visual effects. The Flash movie has no shortage of mind-bending shots. They take footage, animate over Flash, and bring the world back to create those stunning time travel scenes. It's quite the planning process, you know. And there's this scene where Barry saves Iris from a car crash, and the refractions and color shifts make you feel like you're in a whole other world. There's a lot that goes into bringing the Flash to life on the big screen, my friends. From fully CG shots to cleverly intercutting with green screen footage, it's a marvelous blend of technical wizardry and creative storytelling. So next time you watch The Flash, remember the incredible craftsmanship behind it all. After much anticipation and a few delays, The Flash movie has finally arrived. And let me tell you, it's a real treat for the eyes. The filmmakers have pulled out all the stops to give the Flash his unique and electrifying look. Picture this, crackling electrical currents crawling all around his suit, vibrant plasma-like lightning bolts striking every which way, sparks flying, and smoke billowing. It's a visual spectacle that will leave you in awe. But the magic doesn't stop there. The set is filled with an abundance of lights, illuminating the scenes from every direction. The Flash's lightning even reflects off his helmet and dances in his eyeballs. Talk about creating a dazzling effect. And you won't believe how powerful the moment becomes when he's lit by his own lightning. It's like witnessing pure cinematic brilliance. Now let's talk about the remarkable visual effects in the Flash movie. The clever folks at Scanline VFX have taken on the challenge of bringing time travel to the big screen. They masterfully blend live-action footage with animated elements, creating a mind-boggling experience. Just imagine, taking the footage, animating over the Flash, and then seamlessly bringing the world back. It's a whole other level of movie magic. And there's one particular scene that required some extensive previs and a bit of harness maneuvering. It's the moment ere the Flash saves Iris from a heart-stopping car crash. The action takes place at an intersection, with the far background being a green screen set extension. As soon as the accident occurs, the Flash enters a state of slow motion, with colors shifting and the surroundings refracting. It's as if you're transported to a whole new dimension. But here's the real kicker, my friends. Some shots in the Flash movie are entirely computer-generated. Fancy that. They created a fully CG version of some characters, rebuilding them from modeling to texturing and lighting. It's a monumental undertaking that allows for complete control over the Flash's mind-bending abilities. However, as with any grand endeavor, there can be a few minor hiccups. Some shots may show a green screen version transitioning to live action, or moments where the Flash looks a tad too stretchy. But in the grand scheme of things, these are mere blips in an otherwise astonishing visual experience. And let's not forget the superb attention to detail when it comes to the sound design. The Flash's lightning generates a thunderous roar that adds to the epicness of his every move. It's truly an immersive experience that heightens the excitement to another level. So, my chums, as we wrap up our exploration of the visual effects in The Flash, I hope you've gained a deeper appreciation for the incredible craftsmanship involved. It takes a skilled team of talented artists and technicians to bring this lightning-fast hero to life. The Flash movie is a testament to their dedication and creativity, and it's an absolute joy to behold. So, next time you watch The Flash dash across the screen, remember the immense effort put into every frame. It's a cinematic marvel that deserves all the applause it can get. Thank you for joining me on this delightful journey through The Flash's visual effects. If you've enjoyed our time together, don't forget to subscribe for more captivating content. Until next time, my friends. Cheerio.